Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Underdogs in Africa podcast. This is episode 7. I am Christian, so the number 7 is a big deal for me. It's very special, and I know that I say this at the beginning of every podcast. We've got a very special guest in studio today, but this is our 7th episode, which means that it's a special episode. Just firstly, thank you for all of the support that you've given the podcast. Thank you for watching it, giving us feedback. We love to hear from you. If you're enjoying our conversations, please like, share, and subscribe to our channels. Also, drop your comments below. We love to hear from you. We want to engage with you, and we also want to understand whether our conversations are valuable to you as our audience. We're back at the Amped Studios in Newtown Junction at the heart of Josie. A big shout out to Sia, who's in studio with us today. Thank you for all your help as always. A big shout out to MTN and the Ayoba family for creating this space for entrepreneurs and founders like myself to make use of. Now, we have a megastar in studio today.
Oh my gosh.
And I absolutely have to read this bio because I don't want to miss anything. So, she is an award-winning journalist and a founder of Afrikaren Media. She's a versatile communications expert and a digital media guru. In 2023, she was listed as Africa's top 50 rising motherland moguls by She Leads Africa, and she's currently the managing producer at Founders Factory Africa. She is a Commonwealth scholar and holds a master's in humanitarian engineering from the University of Warwick and an honors degree from the University of Wits. Her career as a journalist led her curating the Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 lists and interviewing people like Naomi Campbell all the way through to various African presidents. As a businesswoman, she founded Afrikaren Media, which focuses on providing communication and storytelling solutions for organizations across the continent. Her mission is to use her creative communication skills for good, focusing on sustainability, innovation, entrepreneurship, and promoting the African growth story. She also loves exercising, and she's a fitness fanatic. She loves Jesus, she plays chess, and she's all about gaming and music. In studio is Takondwa Mwendera. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. I'm so excited to chat with you. You are an amazing human being, and just thank you for your time.
Gosh, thanks so much, Miranda. I'm blushing like super hard. Like, that was awesome. I'm really excited to be here. I know we've spoken about this for quite some time, and yeah, thank you for welcoming me and that awesome, amazing introduction.
Let's start by you telling us all about Naomi Campbell. Like, is she as perfect in person as she is on screen?
Absolutely ravishing. Absolutely ravishing. Funny enough, that interview wasn't even planned. It was like one of those spur in the moments opportunities that I got in my career, and that was during the Global Citizen Festival. So there were lots and tons of celebrities, and they were put in a special like arena away from like everyone else, just to have their own time to prepare for stage. And I remember a friend of mine, we snuck into that arena with the red carpet, and then he started shooting content on his phone, and I was like, quickly, let me grab this interview with Naomi Campbell.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, the next thing I'm there talking to her, and she was like so warm, so welcoming.
Lovely.
I introduced the media house I was with at the time, and she was very keen to talk to us and share her journey and what she was doing in South Africa at the time. So that was like a very like fangirling moment, which I was super, super proud of.
One thing about an African founder, we will always find the opportunities.
Always.
And we will always
we'll take it.
Make the most of those. That's incredible.
Literally.
Who else did you interview? Like, tell us a bit about that.
So, you mean at that particular...
Well, just in your journey.
In my journey.
Yeah, tell us a bit about who...
In terms of, like, big names, I think, like, I got an opportunity to interview my president, so the president of Malawi, Lazarus Chakwera. I got to interview Denai Guerrera, you know, from Black Panther. So
that's awesome.
She was talking about her journey in HIV activism, which was a selection of stories I was covering at the time. I also got to speak to Mr. Easy, which was a funny interview on its own because it was on an Instagram Live. So this was during our COVID era, and in the interview, he had just started his Empower Africa, which is a platform that helps creative entrepreneurs and musicians. And we were speaking about one of his songs, which is Legova, which is a very popular song. And on,
you love Legova.
Imagine. And on this business platform on Instagram Live, there I was saying, oh yeah, because Africans have the best bum bums, and that's why you chose the song. And I was like, oh my gosh, girl, keep it together. Like,
that is what makes authentic conversation.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And did you get nervous in these interviews? How did you manage that?
I did. I think it's one of those things that you have to like sort of like hype yourself up, because if you don't, your energy levels are gonna show. And like, people, sometimes the way we perceive ourselves is not how other people perceive us. So I've kind of learned to like take away, oh, what is she thinking? Or maybe I'm not looking a type of way, or like worrying too much about what other people think, and just getting myself into form and ready to do the job. Because at the end of the day, part of the interview process isn't like you're doing it for fun, but you're actually doing a job. So I have to always constantly remind myself, like, I have the right to be here, and let me just do the best that I can in this process.
I love that so much, and I feel that it can be translated to so many different young brown women today across so many different verticals of industry, job, profession, whether you're a founder or whether you're a CEO or whether you're entering your career for the first time. You know, like, what has your journey been like in terms of reminding yourself that you have a right to be here, especially in an industry like the one we're currently in, with being in Africa, being in the tech environment, being an entrepreneur and founder? How do you do that for yourself, and how do you keep yourself disciplined, motivated, but also, you know, like you've just said, reminding yourself that you have a right to be here? What's your story?
So that's a really good question, because I was never like this confident in myself. I was a very shy child growing up, so I was afraid of like being in the limelight or being in the spotlight or having to like present myself in front of people. And I think a combination of what I do now in my career, I've had to force myself to kind of get out of that shell and like break free and like create my own story. And it reminds me of something that you said a while back when we met, and it was around like, if no one is giving you the platform, create the platform for yourself. And that really like, you know, it reminded me a lot about what I've had to do in my journey, because no one's ever come to me and say, hey, you could be good at speaking, why don't I give you a mic? Exactly. No, it's been like that, of like me trying to get myself that experience. And it started out really small, like doing some news anchoring for a small organization, all the way to reporting for big publications like Forbes Africa, to CNBC Africa, and then on a global scale now running my own business and moderating in that, and actually doing that now with Founders Factory Africa. So that, and then obviously kudos to like people that you surround yourself, that also help you build that confidence and support you, and also just give you the guidance to say, hey, this is where, you know, you could do better, or like, I think this is a great opportunity for you, why don't you try it out? And above and beyond that, a huge part of the prep and just the attitude and the perseverance to want to keep doing it comes from God. And I think prayer has been such an amazing part of my journey and my relationship with God. I've seen like coming very strong in like helping me build that confidence, because it's Godfidence, as people say, right? So I think those three things, a culmination of like self-determination, a support system, and my journey with God, has been a huge factor in culminating where I am today.
I love how bold you are about your faith, which to be honest, I find very rare in the professional and business environment. In fact, we were just talking about that yesterday with the team around how our skills, our abilities, our talents come from God. And as a team, and in building scale, for example, it's like, okay, God's called us out of comfort and security into a different path, and it's up to us to trust him, and he'll, you know, meet us where we are and give us the right partners, the right potential investors, the right opportunities and growth. And when you put that in the middle of, you know, everything that you do in your life, including business, which many people see as more material and worldly, that is still blessed by God, right? And when it's submitted, it's a supernatural evolution that takes place, which we hold on very tight to. For me, that comes from the fact that I was born Christian. And my mom has a direct line to Jesus, you know, like as most mothers do.
Him up.
You know. But were you born Christian? And how has your journey been in terms of your spirituality?
Yeah, so I grew up in a family of Christians already. So both my parents, despite the fact that they came from two different denominations of Christianity, they were all Christians. So we were raised in a Methodist church in Swaziland.
Wow.
And that's where a lot of my childhood and my faith building started. And then I found myself part of, like, 2 years of my high school in an Anglican all-girls Christian school, which was like super grueling, but at the same time formed a huge foundation, which I don't take for granted around my faith and how big God is, because that was the place, I believe, where I started to dream and dream big. And since then, it's been seeing God come into play into my life, into my family's life. And obviously, like, there were periods in my life where I highly doubted God, and I highly doubted the plans he had for me. Like, I remember even in my varsity year, I struggled with self-harm, for example, because I didn't know what purpose God had for me. I didn't know, like, what is this all for and what the next steps are. And with that, like, it took, I mean, obviously going from therapy and, like, just support from family and friends, but it really took me understanding God more to know what I was trying to do in my life, rather than me saying, God, this is what I want to do, and it's not working. But it really is a relationship. And I think sometimes as Christians, our faith gets swayed because we forget it's a two-way relationship, and not just one way of always asking God, but hearing from him and trying to understand what he has for your friends.
That's wow. I mean, it's an incredible testimony also to see, you know, that you started dreaming big very young, and firstly, like, look at life. Well done, God. Like, you did the things, you know. But it's so important to highlight those lows too, because I think often as a Christian, it's almost expected that your life will be perfect, that you're going to be so blessed and highly favored, and, you know, like, you'll receive all the treasures of the kingdom. And yes, indeed, you would. But, like, talking about the lows and those periods where you're building grit and you're building faith and you're trusting God for a different outcome, like what you mentioned, you know, in that period that you went through your dip. Like, what was that process just practically in terms of trusting him? Because I feel that, you know, many, again, young women, but also, I mean, all generations really, and just people in general, there's always these highs and lows in life. And sometimes you hit a low and you just can't get yourself out of the hole. You know, how did you manage it?
To be honest, it was quite a journey. I wouldn't say it was like once off, because even after I felt like, okay, I'm in a better space now, would still experience it from time to time. So I do believe it is a journey. I mean, even now I still struggle mentally sometimes, but it's not as bad. I think one thing I learned very recent, which I'm like, oh, I should have known this a long time ago. Or probably I did, I just didn't take it seriously. And it's the idea around purpose. And sometimes you think of purpose as this big granular plan that you have to do. Like, I have to become this mogul, this person, you know. And I'm going to get a little bit preachy here, but in the Bible, 2 Thessalonians 7, I think, talks about what God's will is for us. Sometimes we're like, God, what do you want? Like, God literally says it, and it's just 3 simple things. Three simple things, which is number 1, to pray, to give thanks, and to love. And if you do that across any like field you find yourself in, or any aspect of your life, if you're following those 3 things, you are doing God's will. And the rest, your dreams and everything you aspire to do, just comes through from that. So yeah, I think it's still quite a journey, but trying to get myself out of it comes with like playing worship music, like doing things that make you feel good. So you're not stuck in that rut.
And that reminds you of the love of God too,
it reminds you of the love of God. So doing things, doing love, I think is a huge part of like getting yourself out of that little dip.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you can call out scriptures, throughout the whole podcast. That would be incredible. I love that. So tell me a bit about like your home life. I mean, so were you born in Malawi?
Yes. So that's also another long story.
Tell us all about it.
Okay, cool. How much time do we have? I'm joking.
Enough.
So I was born in Malawi to 2 wonderful parents. My dad, he's into agricultural management, water management. So he was teaching at one of the universities in Malawi at the time. And before then, my family was living in Belgium. Okay. So he was working there, and they lived there for about like 5 years. And then, I don't know, something told them, let's go back to Malawi. So I got back to Malawi, and then I was born. And 3 months after I was born, my dad got a job in Ethiopia. So we moved to Addis, and he was lecturing at the Addis University of Addis Ababa. And yeah, we were there for about 3 years. So a lot of my childhood, like I just remember a few hazy things as a baby, like people and certain stories that they tell me. And then after that, we moved to Swaziland. So we lived in Swaziland for about 10 years, which is like my primary school all the way till my second year of high school.
Okay.
His contract was for 10 years, so we had already planned that, okay, we're going to leave after those 10 years, and we found ourselves moving to South Africa. But it was very short-lived, and I went to Wendywood at the time for about 6 months, and then we moved to Kenya, and my dad got a job with an NGO there, and that became a new journey on its own, because it was like, at the time I hated the idea of leaving, because I'm like, we just moved here. Why do I have to like make new friends?
And you're
like,
older. And you're
I'm a teen. It's like, gosh, guys, I remember even crying on the airplane because I just didn't know what to expect. And I think back then the perception of Africa wasn't as great as it is now. So you really don't know what to expect. And when I got there, it took time adjusting, but honestly, it was one of the best few years of my life. I guess because of also the people I met. My parents were like really adamant about my education in general, so they really tried hard to make ends meet and afforded me to go to an international school there.
Nice.
And that was about 3 years. And then we moved back to SA 2012. 2011, started my university life 2012. And that was at Midrand Graduate Institute. They've now since changed their names to Eduvos. And then I started working, and the rest is history. That I got to Wits and other places.
So you've been in South Africa since 2011.
Yes.
And how did you study abroad?
So I got the scholarship just during COVID. And it was something that had been on my mind to want to pursue my master's after work. So I got the work experience. I at least got to work with ENCA as a mobile journalist for 1 year, and then started my journey with Forbes. And somewhere in the mix, I was like, let's see what else, because I'm a firm believer of like expanding your horizon, expanding like what you do as a person. So after working with Forbes, I started working with them part-time, and I went lecturing. So I started lecturing some students, and that was really, really fun. I enjoyed that whole process. I did that for 2 years, and then COVID happened. So everything was digital. And at that time, a culmination of like the pandemic itself, and then also going through like personal changes, because I'd gone through a major heartbreak at that period. I was like, no, man, there's gotta be more to this life thing. Like, I know COVID has been really hard for a lot of us, but I was just like banking on what is the bright side. Like, there should be something I can look forward to after all of this. And that's what pursued me to want to study abroad, and like started applying for scholarships, and it was like rejection. Sounds
like my investor conversation.
Joking. I was like, what is happening? And like last, I think 2 months before I got a confirmation, then like one of the scholarships, the Commonwealth Scholarship, got in touch and said, they'd like to sponsor me, and it was a push from the university itself. So Warwick University had actually put my name forward to get the scholarship. So it was like a really, really huge blessing in that process. And come 2021, I think, then I left to Coventry in the UK for about 1.5 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. So you're like a true African citizen. I mean, we all are, because South Africa is in Africa.
Is in Africa.
But I mean, like that must have been like really cool to experience different cultures and learn different ways of life in different markets. And I'm sure that lends to your career and your journey and your talents as well, right? Having that level of experience. That's pretty cool. So why did you choose journalism?
Interesting question. Journalism kind of chose me, I think.
Okay.
I'd say like it literally dates back to like my childhood. So my mom and I used to love watching Oprah, and she was like, back then she was that girl.
Yeah.
And I remember sometimes after watching the Oprah show, I'd go to my bedroom and start interviewing my teddy bears and like pretend like we're on a talk show. So I had this passion of like being inquisitive and wanting to know more about people, wanting to know more about the world. And then come my university, and we had to choose like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? It was kind of like, I don't want to do this. I know I'm not a numbers girl. I know I don't want to do science. And then journalism was one of those that like was very broad, because you can take that skill and use it in any industry. But also like, it's something that excited me, because I'm like, I love storytelling. Like, I love getting deeper into like what's actually happening, or what someone is actually going through, or like through what they've experienced. So that's how I found myself in it.
So you started Afrikaren Media about 3 years ago, right?
Yes.
Firstly, when I found you on Instagram, I'm like, I love me a brown Karen. Like totally changed the definition of Karen. So I had to ask you, like, is Karen on your identity document? Is it your name, or was it a name that you created for a brand? Like, tell us about
the story
about
behind
that.
Karen. Yeah, so my full names are Takondwa Mwendera and Karen. So like, I know like with a lot of African families, they're like, you had to have an English name. So my mom gave me that name after one of her best friends in Belgium, who was Karen.
Nice.
And she really had a good relationship with that woman. So yeah, she was like, I'm gonna name my daughter that name.
Nice.
Which I've not met her, so wherever you are, Karen, I'm looking for you. But yeah, so that name is my second name, and then Takondwa is my first name, which is a name given to me by my granddad. May his soul rest in peace, and it means we are happy. Because I'm the last born, so they were like, shop closed.
Yeah, it's enough.
It's enough. We're happy now. We're good.
Yeah.
So that's the story behind it.
Okay, and Africa. So again, like when I read Afrikaren, is that how you say it? Karen or Karen?
I say Karen, but Karen is more Southern African pronunciation. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So when I saw Afrikaren, I'm like, hey, that is so cool, given how we see the name and how people joke about it and that kind of thing. But tell us a bit about your business, your journey as a founder. Like, what does the business do and focus on, and what led you there?
Cool. So the business the business model operates in two streams, but to get there, I think the history of it is quite important. During COVID time, in terms of like engagements, events, everything was closed down. So everyone was looking to more like digital events. And I found myself moderating a couple of panels, but for different organizations. and curating. Part of me moderating is actually curating that panel for them.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, you know, lots of businesses are looking to go digital.
Yeah.
Maybe this is an opportunity to like provide that as a service rather than like you just moderate and it's done, because there's a lot that goes into it. And so then I started Afrikaren Media with the mandate of helping African businesses tell their story and host critical and impactful conversations. And then we started with one of our first clients, which was in Botswana, and they did they're an advertising African agency, and we're relooking at how African advertising is done. Another client was based in Zim, and we did something with them along the lines of talking about sustainable housing and how you can rebuild that. So a part of what we did as Afrikaren was providing those communication services such as PR, so promoting the event, curating the digital event, getting the speakers, rundown of like how we're going to also post the event, what's going to happen. So a lot of that was trying to understand what their needs are, which could be they want to get more, you know, promote what they're doing, or like sell a product, get more clients, or just build a community. So it was all helping them achieve those objectives. And what was so great about it was being able to like curate events that were cross-border. So it's not like with the digital space, you can really like work.
You can go so broad.
Exactly. So there is that. And then above and beyond that, like communication services provided to that. So we had our first big contract for 6 months with one South African NGO that focused on youth. And that was cool for us because I got to build a bigger team. So at least it wasn't just myself, but I had a group of 2 other young ladies who were actually my former students.
Oh, nice.
That we started working together on these projects. And then I got shipped away to the UK. So the contract, fulfilling the needs of the contract, were kind of like on a go slow up until the end when we finished off. And then it was like school started becoming demanding, and I had to like really think about what do I prioritize at this moment. And at the time my goal was like, let's get this degree. So Afrikaren Media had to be put on a hold for some time.
Okay.
And we did a few projects here and there, but it wasn't as consistent as we used to do so. And also with the team, it was kind of like, we can't necessarily grow right now until like the foundation is a bit more solid. So it's taken, I think that's been like, I guess the hardest thing about working or studying and then also running a business, and then come to current situation. And why I got hired at Founders Factory Africa was for that very reason of what I was doing in my business.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you.
Yeah. So it's like coming full circle and getting into the business itself. So that's, I think I've explained the one stream in terms of what we're doing, but a huge part of why I thought, you know, there's a gap in just the broader ecosystem around African stories. And by that, I mean like learning about like different African cultures and contexts. I'm a huge fan of like what OK Africa does, for example. They're like a global media house that focuses on African storytelling, but from a culture arts perspective. With us, it's looking at the culture, the art, the history, and like fun facts. So we hosted a really cool Africa Day quiz, on a digital quiz online, that was last year. And just asking people different facts about Africa, and they get to answer them. And like, it really did really, really well in terms of metrics. So it's like thinking about how do we scale that? Because people are hungry for like African knowledge and like learning cool things about different places. Like one of the things I learned was like that like in Morocco, they build houses and some of them they use fish bones. Wow. Because it's like part of like a tradition around like something around protectiveness. So there's those little fun facts and things that are
very interesting.
Very interesting, that I feel like, you know, there's space for them to be out there because it's part of understanding who we are. And like you'll see who we are first, and realize that some of the things that we're like, oh my god, that's so cool, it's done in America, but it's already been done here, you know. Hello. So it's also, you know, breaking down those stigmas, breaking down perceptions around the continent, and like just building a community of Africans that love Africa and want to, reshape the narrative.
And you're doing this pretty well at FFA, right?
Thank you.
How did you bridge that culture, history, like the humanization part with the actual industry and skill set and what these founders are creating and doing, within their businesses? Because I feel like African founders are so broad in terms of spectrum, from a personality, culture, history, their own stories, and they're building such cool, innovative solutions that solve, and I know I always say this too, that solve real problems and have some level of purpose behind it, right? How did you bridge that gap in terms of telling their stories and, support them in terms of how they're viewed from a global stage, as opposed to them being victims because we're from Africa? What's your view on that?
Sure, that's loaded. I'm gonna ask you what's on it first.
No problem. I will tell you.
Let's hear it.
I feel as though often people don't really understand the markets that we operate in. That's the first thing. The second thing is that a lot of, and I'll speak specifically from the lens of the industry that I operate in, which is financial services, right? Financial inclusion for me is used as a buzzword. Access is used as a buzzword. Unless you have real experience sitting inside of an environment with your gogo who's living in a rural area, that has to walk a distance, get on a bus, and then still travel for 2-3 hours to get into a city, stand in a queue for 3 hours to get that remittance from her daughter in the UK. You can't really talk about true financial inclusion because you don't understand where the problem starts. That's my first thing. My second thing is, yes, we are emerging markets. Yes, we do have high level of crime, corruption, socioeconomic issues, and all that stuff, right? So not taking away from it. But we also have talent. We have skills.
Yes.
We do have some level of economic activity that can be poured back into the country to better empower our entrepreneurs. We hold a lot of opportunity. We hold a lot of resources, right? We have a lot to offer as a continent. But I think from a global perspective, they often look at us as, hey, Africa is emerging. There's lots of opportunity there. So let me stick all my Western views in there without having the true context or understanding of the continent and its people. And I feel like the moment you separate those, you're doomed. Because if you can't understand how a human being lives in a country like South Africa, which you seem to be very carded and banked and mature, fine. But we have the largest wealth gaps. We have people who are starving on the streets, people who don't have running water, any electricity. They lack human dignity, and yet we're innovating on existing services. So I feel that often there is a misconception around the continent. Often, African founders do not get the same stage as those who may come from Europe or from the US, right? I feel that there is a lack of understanding which needs to be bridged with true education coming from us. We have to be more vocal and stand up for the continent that we live on and also for the continent we're building for, right? In terms of what are we trying to achieve? How are we doing this differently? And I can't remember if I said this on another podcast or not, but I'm going to tell you. I was in Nairobi recently and I attended an event. A very well-known, influential person in the financial services industry sat on a stage speaking to African founders, telling them about how they need to think global. Sharp, cool.
That's spicy.
We're all thinking global, babe.
Yes.
Yes, we're thinking global, but we're thinking local because we have problems to solve here. And once we're done here, let's think about expanding. Cool. It's not that we're running an NGO. We're running businesses, right? We intend to make a profit. We're going to earn revenues, yes, but we're going to change lives in the process. So cool. We're acting local. We're thinking global. We're building, according to global standards. But then he went on to say, you should one of your goals should be like a US founder or a European founder. I'm like, boy, bye.
No.
Pipe down. Because firstly,
that's
how
the
rude,
problem
bro.
right there.
You're sitting in front of African founders.
Right there.
US founders, European founders, and other founders from around the world should persevere to become like African founders, because we are resilient.
100%.
We lack opportunity.
100%.
We really do lack access. We lack capital. We lack resources.
Yeah.
We're victims, right? So, and a lot of the continent has produced incredible founders and of different businesses across the sector.
Yeah.
We've got incredible stories.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, M-Pesa is one of them, a global phenomenon. Everybody copied us, you know, so I feel like there's a very big misconception.
Absolutely.
And I feel that line needs to be made very clear, that we're a force to be reckoned with, and that we have a hell of a lot to offer to the world.
Yeah.
That's my view.
Absolutely. 100% agree with you there. I hope you got those snaps in the podcast. But I love what you did there. Like, I couldn't have thought about it any better. And a huge part of that, like how I think of it, because I know you're thinking from tech side, and how I think of it from a media perspective is that in the world of tech, in the world of like business and finance on the African continent, is that it's also such a numbers game. Like someone coming in, if you don't understand the jargon, if you don't understand the terminology, you'll be completely lost. And I think it's a model that's been adopted from Western perspectives, because storytelling, or like when it comes to information, like media assets in Africa were predominantly owned by global entities. It's only now that pockets of them are coming out that are African owned and African based. But still the biggest ones, like your, I don't want to name and shame, but like, you know, the big names of media organizations in the business world or financial sector are still European or internationally owned, or Western owned rather. And the problem with that is when it comes to agenda setting, they're only going to be looking out for what is good for them, what is news to them. And there's no, if you're reading about like stats of like, 30% of people are unemployed in one country, or in South Africa, for example, cool, that's setting the tone, but it's not humanizing the problem to broader and broader, to understand how deep it is, and for them to be able to have empathy. Otherwise, they'll continue to look at Africa as a numbers game.
Yes.
And if we're not bringing those stories to light from a humanistic level within the sector, and also conditioning investors or like key players abroad to look at Africa beyond just numbers, I think that that's one of the solutions to the issues that we're facing, the way people perceive us. Because I mean, someone like that coming on stage and saying you need to do this, or you need to become like, no, we don't have to become like anyone else.
Exactly.
And we've borrowed so much from the Silicon playbook that right now it's time that we create our own African playbook. They create the way we want to perceive ourselves, and also unearth a lot of the founders and businesses that haven't had the limelight. Because another problem within just storytelling or media is that you're seeing the same people all the time.
Oh my gosh, the speaker circuits. Like, guys,
it's like the same faces, the same people. So we're giving the mic around, but it's the same people.
Yeah.
And like, we need to broaden what that looks like. We need to open it up to founders who have failed. Like, why are we only giving success or like platforms to founders that have done successes? But like, let me learn, what did you learn from your failure? If so, like, don't be afraid to talk about that. Teach us. Like, we're focused too much on just telling a one-sided story when there's two sides, or even more than two sides to a particular story. And I think we need to get to a space where founders or like people in the ecosystem can be open enough to tell the truth, but from their own story, and be like, it's okay. It doesn't always have to be a numbers game. The numbers are important, but what is the story behind those numbers?
Because people do business with people. And we start with people.
Yeah. I think another challenge to that is like, the story of entrepreneurship is always like centered around the founder, which sometimes can be a double-edged sword, because the founder can only like hold on so much. And like, that's why you build teams. You have people around you, like your operators, for example, that could be like the person creating the app that works in partnership with the founder. That story isn't told. You can get like the different aspects, or like the different people that come into building that business, and those stories also can be told. But I don't feel like we focus too much on that, and what that happens is it does create the celebrity influence around the founder themselves, but also creates pressure on them that if the business fails, they have failed, which is not the case. Like, you're still a person, and like, it's okay if your business isn't going where you want it to go. Doesn't change your value as a human being. Just pick yourself up and you keep going.
And there's a fine line between a business environment and thinking with your business cap on, and thinking with your heart cap on and your human being cap on, right? And I think that even though there is a difference, I feel that a lot of the time that should be interchangeable, not leading with emotion or leading with your feelings. It's around the fact that exactly what you're saying, we're still human. We're in our own strength and power trying to make business work, but we still can't control everything around us, and we do rely heavily on partners, on our own team that we're building, a business with. So I 100% agree with you, and I feel, like I don't know if I should be saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. Like, one of the things that the team and I have been talking about right now as believers, right, is that we want to build for the kingdom of God.
I love that. So is your team fully Christian? All of them?
Not all of us, but as a founding team rather, we're the four of us are Christian, and we hold that very, very firm in our hearts, right? Yes, we are building according to business principles. Yes, we are trying to follow a YC playbook in terms of how this is usually done for a tech startup in Africa, right? Yes, we are pulling learnings from other African founders to see what mistakes have been made, but what went really well that we should try and replicate. We're applying, our own knowledge and expertise, but at the crux of it, we believe that our talents and abilities come from God. He's called us for a purpose, and he will bless us in this journey, right? And a part of that is, one of the Sundays my pastor gave a sermon about bees don't camp, they build, right? And in that he was talking about how bees build for the queen's kingdom.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Nice.
And it made us think, okay, cool. We're going to be doing all of this, and we have been blessed in a short period of time to have onboarded some clients. We're earning revenues, and we're making some really good traction. We want to tithe, and we're thinking about it as a business.
I love
right?
that. Okay.
But then we're thinking about, okay, so what is the potential investor going to say when they look at our books and they see this amount going to the church every month, And my feedback is, okay, firstly, from a heart perspective, God will help us figure this out.
Yeah.
Because he knows our intentions, and he knows what we are trying to fulfill for his kingdom. It circles back to those three things that you called out earlier.
Yeah.
It's like, it's how do you keep that inside of your practice, centered in your heart and your business, and still defend that to the world, when the world is not going to look at it from a godly perspective. They're going to look at it from a numbers perspective, And I'm using that as an example, but circling back to what you're saying, being bold in our own truth can sometimes exclude you from potential opportunities that you need, from potential investors, potential partners, potential business opportunities, or a way of doing something differently that's going to change the trajectory of your business. And I think a lot of the times, it's like, if something is scarce, you want to hold on to it as much as possible. And sometimes a fear of losing something that's not even yours yet can hold us back from being the bold African founder that the world needs to see. And I feel often that's what we need to normalize and make it okay, and get the rest of the world behind, which is such a big effort. But I mean, why can't it be done?
Why can't it be done? And it just starts with you. And I really love what you guys are doing within that, because I'm like, I've actually never thought about if businesses also tithe, as a business. And I think that's setting a foundation for other Christian founders out there. Because like you said earlier, like in the industry, in your profession, people really talk about their spirituality. And it does play a crucial role in who you are, how you form yourself, how you form your business, and getting you know, still keeping that aspect, but also still following in light with your religion or your Christianity, shouldn't be a choice. It should just go in hand. Like, for example, when I think about like the faith of Islam, they do business, but they also believe in their religious principles. So why can't it be the same within Christianity, where your business can be embedded within what your belief system is without having to be questioned by investors?
I completely agree, and I think we need a whole new podcast.
Yeah, just for that. I know, because it's so like...
Because it's so deep. Interesting, and I feel like it is very deep, and I feel there are so many Christian founders out there that would grapple too on a global stage.
Yes.
You know, based on numerous factors right now, you know. But it's certainly something that we should circle back to and unpack.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very powerful.
It is.
In various aspects.
It is.
And it's also like, just as you were talking, I'm just thinking to myself, you know, we say God is big and we trust in God to do big supernatural things. So just plow through the walls and, you know, go break them all down, and you'll eventually land up at a place that God has designed.
True.
Especially for you.
True.
You know? Practicing it is easier than... thinking about it and saying it is easier than practicing in reality.
Yeah.
So what's your journey been like at Founders Factory? I mean, you have access and exposure into so many different verticals, and you know, you speak with so many different people. Like, how is that going, and what do you love most about it?
Gosh, it's been 6 months, Miranda, since I joined FFA.
6 months only.
Only. Imagine.
Wow.
It feels like it's been years, to be honest, which is a good thing because it means I'm really enjoying what I'm doing.
You're doing an incredible job too. Wow.
Thank you. So, yeah, like we met, I think, in the first or second month while I had joined in Zambia. So you saw me in my like learning, growing phase, and I think slowly but surely getting more accustomed to the industry, and like it's been quite a journey. It's been really incredible. I work with such amazing people, with my team and the broader team. They all have this passion for Africa and wanting to see Africans succeed, so that makes it so much easier, because you know that this is not a passion or journey that you're going alone, but everyone else is, you know, thinking on the same path. And really kudos to our CEO Bongani, who's like instilled that vision within us and always constantly remind us why we're doing what we're doing. And I've had the opportunity to like create really cool things, like the live podcast we did.
Oh, that was so
which
awesome.
was actually our first podcast with yours truly. And that was a fire conversation. Really, really grateful for you being part of that, because it just brought that energy, man. Yeah, and like,
you know, I am the spice.
So, you know, that one of the first big projects that I was part of. And then the African Tech Festival, we did some cool panel discussions. All the way till now, like we did our second live podcast in Nairobi, which was super
congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you. That was hectic, but I loved it either way, like with Lorraine moderating. And we did our third live podcast in our office with our CEO as the host, and that was geared towards an LP audience.
Oh, cool.
So the one in Zambia was around fintech, and is fintech the one true vertical. The one we did in Nairobi was looking at the playbook for African founders, like how do you bootstrap, how do you build, like what's the next steps for 2024. And then the one with the LPs was looking at new financial models. So what I really love about it is like being able to immerse myself into different like verticals, like you said, and like learning from each of them. The other day I had to moderate a panel around currency devaluation and valuation.
Wow, that sounds incredibly interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting, but also quite new for me. So it was like,
I was about to say,
Miranda, when I tell you, I had to summon the spirit of God for that panel, because I was like, everyone here is well experienced and they know exactly what they're talking about. I'm new to this industry. Mm-hmm. How do I tie in everything they're saying to make it make sense? Because usually my role is to take the content or like what's hard or like what people are talking about and make it easy digestible for literally anyone to understand and unpack. So that on its own was like a huge challenge, but like I'm really grateful that we got through it, and like also with support from the team and learning from them. Like right now we've got a new brand director, JK, who like funny enough comes from the same industry of me, so media journalism, but has built herself in the ecosystem, and like learning from her as well and the different things that she does and building brands. So it's really like there's no dull day in the office, and I'm slowly starting to see like like why I was placed here.
Yeah.
I'm slowly starting to get to that realization.
It sounds incredibly exciting, and that you're constantly learning on a daily basis and getting thrown into new things that are very new to just your skill set, but also just to the environment, because it's always evolving and moving, and there's something new happening every day, which I'm sure is incredibly exciting. How do you... Okay, maybe not. Let me say this.
Yeah.
Your fitness journey has been like ace to watch. Like I look for it's me, Karen, selfie every morning, and I'm like, yeah, girl, time for you to go to the gym. You know, like and I love that because I feel you're in a very high pressured environment.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to be switched on all the time. You know, you're doing incredibly cool things just in your personal and your own capacity.
Yeah.
Your spirituality is on point. How do you keep yourself fit mentally, physically, you know, so hit your own personal body goals and that kind of thing? And I always feel that I use the term #business athlete, you know, as a founder.
I like that hashtag,
because it's so important to how you just say stay mentally sharp and actually deal with the stress of a heavy environment. Like what's been your experience?
Gosh, I mean, number one, kudos to you on your fitness journey, because that also inspires me. I really love seeing it. I love seeing it, and it's great having like people around you that are also like going through the same thing, because you don't feel alone.
Yeah.
But it's been hard. I am enjoying it. I've reached that point of like the point of no return. I think before I used to look at fitness as like, okay, we do fitness, then after some time we can stop because we've reached, you know, whatever it is I was trying to like achieve.
Yeah.
But now I think of it as like
part
mobility.
Of life.
Yeah, it's part of life. Like your body has to move at least an hour a day of just movement, even if it's not at the gym, but you're doing something physical. I think is so important. So yeah, I think I pretty much started my healthier journey this year compared to the previous years, because I feel like it's also the year when I'm about to turn 30. Before then, I think I was just struggling with life, so it was so hard to stay consistent.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, I have to, one way or another, we're building this consistency. And I think it's just comes with just showing up. Like the work after you show up is pretty much done if you've shown up. So I'm just constantly teaching myself that I go to the gym every morning, or try to go to gym every morning. And even as tired as I am, or like as as it feels, it's like just show up, just go. Like you'll worry about what you'll do when you get there, but just physically get there, and it's gonna like instinctively like hype you up.
Yeah. So
there's that. I'm also like really big on like grooming your mental health, because your head is where you live in most of the time. So because it's something I've struggled with for some time, it's like now building a better, stronger foundation, and that comes like my faith, reading more. Currently reading an old book, but like it's so good. It's the man who sold his Ferrari.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm learning a lot about like how, you know, his lessons and things he's learned in life, and like how that, you know, ties into your spiritualness and also your mental health. And yeah, like this year is all about balance, like your well-being, because I realized when I don't go to gym, when I'm not taking care of my mental space, I'm a terrible person.
Out of whack.
Yeah. Like I don't show up better. So for me to be a better human being myself and my others, I have to like do these little sacrifices for myself. And you know, it's caused some friction here and there in friendships, because like I have my days where I'm like, guys, I just need to tap out. Like don't call me. I'll be offline for today, but please understand it's not me hiding. I just need that time for myself to be better. Yeah.
And I feel like that's fair, and it shouldn't be seen as unrealistic.
No,
you know?
Right?
It also depends on who you're with. You know,
Yeah.
like if they are unrealistic, then it's like, oh, you know, now that I'm turning 30, I feel like, you know, it's time to cut you.
Just a little bit.
So let's talk about that, right?
Yeah.
'Cause, like, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are.
Yes.
Kind of vibe. What's been that journey for you in terms of, like, who are your closest friends?
Yeah.
Who do you spend your time with? Where do you get your energy from?
Yeah.
It's so critical and important, and I always love hearing about that from other women.
Yeah. No, that's a really good question. That's a really, really cool question. So my friendship circle is like made of different individuals from different industries. So yeah, like it's really cool to get to have people like that. So I have a very small circle in terms of like people that know my deepest, darkest secrets.
Yeah.
And then I have my intermediate circle of like friendships built, and then obviously like acquaintances. Then I have like long-term friends that I've known from high school or like from the different countries that I've lived in that, you know, we still keep in touch, but physically we don't really get to see each other as much. So yeah, like my friendship has been such a support system. Like even when I was in the UK and having to start like making friends in adulthood, which is like much harder.
It's hard.
They were still there for me, and like yeah, just really blessed to have them. Y'all know yourselves. I don't know if I should name all of them, but
I mean, you
yeah,
can.
I don't want to also exclude, because there's a lot of people that have made such a huge impact on who I am and like in my goal. And obviously there have been friendships that have fallen off over the years, even in my adulthood, where it's been like, yeah, maybe things aren't working out. It's not you, it's me type of thing. It depends also, because like with a lot of the friends that I've made in different countries now, it's like keeping comms like digitally. So setting up rituals to always keep in touch and like bond, because I'm one of those people that if we've been friends from childhood or high school, like whenever I meet you, like I keep you as part of my journey. Like if we, you know, I'm not the kind of person that will like, if we had a good relationship, I'm gonna throw you away. But like, it means a lot to me to have people that know me from like very long time ago and like
see you through different
me
phases.
through different phases. So like keeping that communication on is quite important for me, like here and there. And then of course like the new friends that I've made in the industry, like yourselves, and like people I've made within the company as well. So you know, it grows, and it's nice to learn a lot. And I have a group of friends that, you know, when I started in the industry, they were like super excited because now I was working with Forbes, and it was like they were super proud and like really supported that journey, and vice versa. Like I love seeing my friends win and wanting to see them win constantly and always just being by their side. Actually right now I'm a friend who's going through a really rough time, and just trying to be there for her is like what's literally on my mind, like as we're going through the podcast, because it's been really tough for her. And my sisters I consider are my besties as well.
How many sisters do you have?
I've got 2 sisters and 1 brother.
Are you the youngest?
I'm the last born.
Yeah, just like me.
Yeah.
What's the age difference between your siblings?
Gosh, super big.
So really?
Same with you guys. Yeah. So like the firstborn is almost like, how old? Like probably like 15-year gap.
Okay.
About 15 or.
Is that your brother?
No, my older sister.
Okay.
And then I've got a brother who like he's like 4 years after her, and then the third born sister, she's like 37 now. Okay. Then it's me. Okay. Yeah. And what about yourself?
So my sister, she's the eldest. She's 12 years older than me.
Wow.
And then I've got an older brother who's 10 years older than me.
Okay.
Then I have a half brother.
Yeah.
You know, my dad, he's my age.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Casanova.
Yeah.
He's my age. But yeah, like I've always been very close to my immediate family because we, like my parents moved out of KZN before I was born.
Wow.
You know, so I grew up in Joburg, but around my immediate family, and most of my extended family, you know, were in different cities, and we didn't really spend a lot of time with them. Yeah. So I grew up with my brother and my sister, and just like you, like I have like a few childhood friends that I hold very close to my heart.
Yes,
and
I think I remember some at your...
Yes, you actually met all my besties
your birthday.
At my birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, I've known like my friend Nancy.
Yes.
The one who lives in Cape Town. She and I have been friends since we were 4 years old.
Okay.
And we've been in each other's lives consistently since then.
Yes.
And I've got another friend who wasn't at my birthday. Her name's Annie. Like I met her in high school.
Nice.
And you know what I realized also, and I don't know if you feel the same. Yes, you have immediate circle, little bit larger, broader acquaintances, connections, and relationships and stuff.
Yeah.
But you also have like within that circle, it's like, okay, this is the spiritual side.
Yes,
this is the
you've
Nirvana.
got friends for different things.
You know, this is the career, the business.
Yes.
You know, this is the fitness.
The fitness side, yeah.
And I find myself, especially now, and I think it's probably after I turned 30,
Okay.
that the way that I think and hold my friendships and value those friendships are like a little bit different to pre-30. You know, because I'm like, okay, if I wanna go to the gym, like I'm not gonna call that friend.
Yeah,
she
you know,
ain't
it's
going.
not about that.
You know,
it's not about that life.
This cool fitness friend of mine named Neo. I mean, like I'm with her all the time.
I remember Neo.
You know. But then it's like, okay, if I need advice because I'm going into an investor meeting, I'll call the one friend, you know, Nancy be like, hey girl, what do you think about this? And, you know, and then it's like, if I'm going through a hard time, it's like, hey Annie, you know, please pray for me because, you know, and I feel like that is so critical.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've been through also my own ups and downs with friendships and whatever else, where it can be as heartbreaking as a breakup with a guy.
It's a breakup.
You know?
It's a hard.
Because it's like, your friends are so close to you and they're so important to you, but it's also like, it's also very telling how much you need them during times where it's not incredibly amazing. So whilst you build up to celebrate the win, like you need your friends.
You need your friends. You do need your friends. And I think what you said there also like unpacks a lot, which I think could be another broader podcast.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, the friend group thing is so important. And I feel like, growing up as a child, you feel like you must have that one best friend that's for your go-to for everything.
Yes.
Then you get disappointed when they can't fulfill like a particular need. And it's like, no, but you can't expect so much on one person. And also you don't get to appreciate the person for what the value they bring in their lives. So having friends that are like great in like this or this, that I think makes so much sense, because I also have my friend group in the same way. I know my friends when I want to have a good time, I'm like, hey girl. And then when I'm like, let's talk business or let's talk spirituality, let's talk gym, you know, it's those different people that make the beautiful life that you've built for yourself. And it's nice because when you want a breath of fresh air, especially from work, you can always go to your friends and you don't have to talk about work at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And are you dating?
Am I dating? Oh, girl. No, so at the moment, I've been on this journey as well. After December, I think it came the same time as my health fitness journey. I also started this journey around redefining how I date. Because right now I am single, but I wouldn't say I'm looking, but I know at the time when I'm ready, it's like I'd like to change how I usually, because I think in the past I've made some questionable decisions. and I've learned from that. And I feel like now, I mean, I want to get married. I want to build a family. So like, I want to make sure I'm also building myself to the best that I can be for my future partner and for these kids. And like when God says, all right, it's go time, you know, like I'm also ready to receive the great person that God has prepared. Yeah.
If you're a great person, I'll let you know when applications open. Scale will do the vetting for Takondwa's love life.
Send them through either way. Send them through.
Listen, so when you say, hold on a second, when you say changing the way you date, what does that mean?
So in the past, I've had one, not maybe one, like 2 great relationships that I can say I look back and I was like, that was like golden. One of them was a little bit more recent, and like, you know, out of that relationship came a good friendship.
Okay.
But beyond that, I've had like dating in a way that like, oh, I like this person likes me, then let's date, rather than like really assessing like, is this really what I want, or do our goals align, like building that friendship part before the actual dating, so dating with intention. So that's what I'd like to change about the way I've dated, because I think before it's been like, cool, the vibes are great, we're both into each other, and like we feel like it's going to be a great relationship, but it's like more or less, let's see what it's going to look like. And I'd like to not be in a let's see situation, but like we're actually on the same page of what we want at the end goal. So until then, it's like getting to know people on friendship levels before deciding let's date.
It's like old school dating.
Yeah, like old school dating, courting, exactly,
and really getting to know somebody.
Yeah,
girl, I'm so glad that I'm over it.
I want to know your guys' dating history or story. So, how did you know he was the one?
Oh my God!
Wow,
on camera.
Yes.
I didn't. So
maybe give me some tips. What I need to do, not do.
I met Preland at work.
Okay. You guys work in the same company?
Yes.
Okay, so sick.
The man did not even want to greet me. He was so arrogant. I'm like, firstly,
wow,
you are bald. You can't be arrogant. Greet me when I walk into the room, please. Anyway, like, I wasn't feeling him, but I know that he low-key liked me.
Okay.
Anyway, we dated like a couple months after I joined
for a short period of time. You're like,
this guy would leave the office.
Yeah.
And I would like count down. I'm like 3, 2, 1, and then I get a message, Miranda,
meet me
on WhatsApp. No, not even, just Miranda, because he was on this super arrogant vibe.
Okay.
So no pet names. Can't call him baby. Can't call him love.
Oh, snap. So you guys had rules within your work relationship.
He had rules. I'm just like, what are you doing?
No ways.
Anyway, we dated for a couple months. He made some really bad decisions.
Okay.
In terms of who he dated. He went to this ultra thing.
Oh, wait, this is while you guys started dating?
This was while we were dating. Okay.
Prison.
He went to this ultra event and his ex-girlfriend was there. And then I went a bit like crazy because I'm like, guy, what are you doing? Why is this girl in this photo?
No way.
And then, no. It doesn't. The details don't matter.
Yeah.
Should I cut?
No. Keep it rolling.
Anyway, it gets worse. So I'm just like, I can't be in a relationship like this. I'm worthy. I am loved. I'm chosen.
Yes.
I'm called.
You are.
Bye. And then he's like, okay. I'm like, oh my gosh. He just let me cry. He let me break up with him.
Oh my gosh.
Actually, he broke up with me because
when a guy lets you break up, it's
his fault.
Why do they do that? Like, okay.
Anyway, during that period, I found another man.
Yes.
Dated another guy.
For how long?
For like a year, a little bit less than a year.
Okay.
Meantime, Prelim was doing his own thing. The ex was involved somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
Then he saw me.
Yes.
With my new boyfriend.
The new man.
Because I took him to the Christmas party.
Yes.
And then Prelim's like, oh, I love you.
After a year.
You're the one for me. After a year.
And
then things just unraveled. I had to make a decision at that point.
So choosing. This is such a
I had to choose.
Love story.
I chose Prelim.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. 5 months later, the guy proposes to me. Prelim proposes to me.
What?
I said yes.
This is
right?
so cute.
I said yes.
Okay.
Prelan also forgot to ask actually not forgot. He didn't know that he is to ask my mother for permission before he asked for my hand.
Wait.
Yeah.
What kind of person don't know you have to talk to the parents before?
He didn't have a level of exposure.
I don't know what culture, because in every culture, you have to speak to the parents first.
Me, I want this girl.
I've never... He was staring. But we love that. We love a man who knows what he wants and he's like,
exactly,
I'm not going to mess it up this time. He didn't want to lose you.
And you know something? My CEO of Tutuka only found out
that's the company we you guys met.
Yes.
Okay.
He only found out we were dating when we got engaged and decided to tell him. Nobody knew.
At work.
And let me tell you something else. Prelan and I sat next to each other at the office.
Oh my gosh. And how did no one pick it up?
I don't, like, you know.
You guys were very professional.
Hold on.
Also not living in the same country for most of the month.
Okay.
For that whole 2 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But also, like, I was also very, and I know he feels like I want to call him baby in the office, which I never wanted to, because I also had something to prove. I was young in my career. I don't want it to be like, okay, this girl's growing, because she's dating prelim.
Yeah.
Like, I hate that, you know? So I had to prove myself, which means for both of us, it was very important to keep it professional.
Yeah.
And we're like a payments power couple, so don't get it twisted. And we may be coming for your business, so watch your back. I'm just joking. But, you know, it's like, that was very important for us. So we kept it under wraps.
Yeah.
And then we were engaged for a year. I think, did God want to test us?
What happened?
COVID.
Oh,
so our wedding was meant to be on the Sunday.
Yeah.
The lockdown was on the Thursday.
Okay.
So during a 2-week period, we first had to uninvite 150 people.
Sure.
Then further uninvite 50 people. And then we had then my dress was cut too short.
Oh my gosh.
Then it was full lockdown. Yeah. So my pastor, you know, God bless Grace Place Church, Pastor Mark. He is incredible. He phones up and is like, do you want to get married? We'll just do the whole thing for you at the church. So 24 hours before the lockdown, we got married in the church with like 20 people, took some photos, grabbed McDonald's,
you guys
popped a bottle of champagne, and then we were in lockdown. I was washing the toilets of my apartment on the day I got married. I bought my dress from YDE.
Yes.
I only picked up my actual wedding dress like 2 years later from Bride & Co.
Because it was only done, oh my God, because of COVID.
Like, COVID. And I'm just like, you know, Lord, you know, the trials and tribulations.
Yeah, to get there.
And then it was like, you know, I was living at home with my mom before I got married. And I was spoiled. Everything was done for me. Like, my mom
was born, hey?
Now I get married and I'm like, okay, I'm hungry.
Everything.
So what? I must cook. I must cook if I want to eat something.
Now I'm hungry. What must happen?
So the first 2 years was very, very, very hard on me personally.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love my husband, but it's hard being married.
Yeah.
And I would not recommend you get married if you're not 100% sure and you're ready. And that comes with dating with intention.
Yeah.
And having this in your heart and mind at all times. Love is not all. There are more things that you need in a marriage to make this work for a lifetime. Yeah. And I'm glad and, you know, very blessed and happy to have met my person.
Oh, man.
And married him, you know. But and a lot of my friends are also still single. Yeah. And I just say to them all the time, girl, you know, don't rush according to societal pressure. Yeah. Marry because you are truly in love, but there are a whole bunch of other things that fit, you know, the lives together that will mold it and keep it for a lifetime. And the biggest one of all is God.
Amen. Amen. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at both of you guys since Prelim is in the studio, and I'm like, it's so beautiful to see how you guys have overcome some of these challenges, because it's not easy. Like, it really isn't easy, but like the fact that like you guys come in and you still work together and you still put up a beautiful smile, like it's such a blessing in a time when people are like, nah, marriage is this, that, but like it's very encouraging to meet people like you guys that really make it look beautiful. And I'm like, that's what I want for my life. Aww, you know,
thank you.
It's really lovely.
We'll give tips and we send invoices.
Yeah. You send invoices. The marriage counselors. Yeah. But the pursuit was beautiful. I think the pursuit. So wait, I'm curious, like what made you want him back after that 1 year being with that guy? Because I don't think you answered, like, because now you had to choose. Was the guy you were with not, you know, or he was giving, but you were just like, maybe let me run the block a little bit?
You know, if I can be very honest, it was probably one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make. Yeah. And it was a combination of different things. The person I was dating was probably the first person in my dating life that never hurt me. I broke his heart, right? That was the first thing. Yeah. Most importantly, it was like I prayed about it, like a lot, because I was in a lot of turmoil at that time. And God led me to the decision, you know, that I had made. And when I tell you that it is more than just love, not about whether the guy's hot, whether he's a bad boy, whether he has money for days to make me a housewife, like it's not about that. yes, financial security is important, and yes, being a good person is important, and yes, being physically attractive is important. But there is more that sits behind a relationship that helps
depth.
you sync and connect in a way that will last a lifetime. That led me, into that decision. So, it was a heavy period of my life too, because at the same time, and this is also for another day, but I'll give you a snippet. My dad had passed away in 2017, and Preelin came back into my life, really strongly in 2018.
Yeah.
But it was also during a period where my family and I almost drowned in the ocean. We were taken in by a riptide, and we were sending my father's ashes into the ocean. And I think the fact that God saved us all in that scenario helped to really clarify a couple of things in my own life and in my own mind and in my journey and my heart and a whole bunch of things. So I feel like God's hand has always been a part of every situation in my life, even when I know I was distant and I wasn't following his will and I was doing my own thing and I was lost. His hand was always there to bring me back to where, I needed to be. And a big part of that, I think, is my relationship.
That's a true testimony that I feel like people don't look at in marriage, like, and what it takes to build a marriage, because now the social media story is like, you have to find a person polished and built, and it's like, no, then where's the fun in that? Like, where is the fun in that? Like, you had to
they'll
also
just love themselves more than they love you.
And also from your side, like, you weren't like ready for the whole housewife tasking thing, because it's not what you've known.
Not to marry.
But he was patient enough not to follow the whole social media thing that you must get a wife who cooks, who does this. Like, you both took a chance on each other and were like, we're gonna make this work one way or another.
It's a decision.
Yeah, it is.
I can't cook for shit.
So he does most of the cooking.
Can't cook, can't clean, can't hang curtains.
Yeah.
Like, I hate housework. It makes me really angry.
Yeah.
It
makes you angry, Miranda.
Yeah.
So, like, is he the chef in the chefs, or you guys get someone to
we try to make it work.
Okay.
The food is edible most times when I cook.
Food is edible.
Luckily for me, I married a humble man, so the doesn't complain.
Yes.
He just eats it, and his standards are a little bit low on the food side. So, I'm like, thank you, God.
Yes.
You knew what I needed before I knew it myself.
Before you knew it, yeah.
But I mean, you are right in saying that, because I am literally like not housewife material, not wifey material.
And look at you, you're a wife. And so now it begs the question
He's
to,
still
like,
here.
Where do all these conceptions about being husband material and housewife material actually come from? Society. And it's like coming from an insecure place as well.
Superficial.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's been great chatting with you, Takondwa. Thank you so much for your time. I really love this conversation. I feel like we need to have several more across several other topics, because it's so easy to chat to you, and I love your views and perceptions. Just thank you for your time, and thank you for being here for us, just personally, as well as for scale, and opening up opportunities for us where we're not in those rooms, but you are. We appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Miranda. This has been amazing. And like, I really love the work you guys are doing. So keep it up. Keep highlighting them underdogs in Africa, because Lord knows, like, we've just scratched the surface.
Exactly.